Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about something. I'm writing these stories or rough drafts. I'm doing videos on them. You know, think about like when you're writing something and you're talking into a like old-fashioned tape recorder, handheld tape recorder. These days we just use some people can just use their cell phones like I'm doing. And they're rough drafts, stories, the actual stories, highlights to the stories, you know, all copyrighted to me. And basically, you know, it helps me to see what I'm, you know, just to hear myself and to do them. Then I can listen to them again and say, okay, I changed this. And some of it I changed and some of them I don't. You know, what works and what doesn't. It helps with that. Anyway, I'm making a video, you know, put them in video like this and put them up. Anyway, this one I need to update about, some of these I wrote, made videos on about 2 years ago. And I wrote in before then. And then I made videos on them about, say, 2 years ago. So some of the things will change because I did change some of them. And some of it I just plain forgot. I do have them actually in writing too, but some things had to change, like I said. And this one with Paige and Derrick, their story, I need to like update some of the things that Paige did, and you know, overall the story has changed a little bit, like I keep saying. Anyway, now these I've written is I'm just gonna read some of the highlights. And it is that I wrote this was a new one. Now, Paige and Derrick, they kind of run the original group members. There are other videos that have the background. I don't want to go through all the background. But they run in Victorson County, Texas. These are hypothetical-fictional stories. They run, basically, there's an original group of people going back, say, 40 years, or some of them knew one another from childhood, but they were computer geeks back when being on the computer was not cool. And they really progressed throughout because they were so into computers. They really got into it and they became very wealthy. They helped one another out with different kinds of jobs. They do a lot of programming for things and in places and stuff like that. And they became very wealthy. Okay. Now, the two people that kind of organize it, nobody runs it totally. And not everyone knows what the other one's doing. They know this. It's a need-to-know kind of thing. But they did ask Paige and Derrick, they're just two people. They're not married, but they asked them, you know, if they would kind of organize a lot of things and have, you know, different kinds of things. And they decided they would. They were pretty much, you know, more popular. I'm not sure I would say popular, but so they did. They had that kind of business sense and all, and you know, so everybody kind of like could check in with like Paige's group. They check in if they've moved away or if they're still there. What's going on? Do they need to do anything else? And you know, so forth like this. And well, some people, the people that got kicked out of the county even. Well, kicked out of the main part of the county and sent to this place called the Outlaws, is the actual name of it. The Outlaws, the town. And they're called the Outcasts. They call themselves the Outcasts. They're kind of proud of it because they basically wanted to take over the whole original group members system that Derrick and Paige, you know, organized kind of. They wanted to take over because they thought that that's where all the money is and that they would be able to get all the money. You know, somehow they don't make any sense. Okay. But they started becoming a little bit threatening. And Jim was one of them and is one of them. And his enforcement group, he trains people like for, you know, he trains investigators, his company investigators, some of the police department, some of the sheriff's department, and security guard, bodyguards, security, like I said, and some of them they actually send to school for things like to university to become lawyers, these attorneys, these kinds of things. Well, Jim's group got very worried about Paige and Derrick, so they had to go move on to this Ranch. Okay, the XYZ Ranch. Like I said, there are videos. I don't want to go through all of it, but anyway, they moved on there, and for security reasons, they have a lot of security right there because the elders also live in the mansion. And anyway, they Paige and Derrick, they have their own cabins when they moved there, and they were told they would be there for 2 weeks. Okay, it wasn't just 2 weeks. Okay, and they're surrounded by people, from the enforcement group, and so is the ranch, and it's a huge ranch, because there's so many people there. Like the elders of the county, they basically run it, and they have some threats to them too. So, they have a lot of security there, and at one point, well, they stayed there in the cabins, their own separate cabins, for a couple of weeks, and then they move into where the elders are staying also, the elders. But some of the elders got split up into other ranches and other mansions. And, because they had too many in one location, and they didn't like that. Okay, anyway. Okay, I'm reading my notes. Then they got to work setting up what they have. One of their... Paige was running the volunteer services, and there was this one woman. She was really bad, Donna. Now these are people in their 50s, and Donna was just horrible. She was, rather histrionic, and she always had to be center of attention, always getting into some trouble, always trying to cause problems, but they didn't let her go because they wanted to keep an eye on her. And hardly anybody knows who are these members. They just call themselves members. Okay, and but not that many people know, and Donna's not one of them. She married one, but she's not one of them. And they wanted to set up, Donna has a lot of flying, what some people call flying monkeys. I call her the cronies, and that are also volunteer, and they keep an eye on them. That's the way they do. They have them there. They know what they're thinking, this kind of thing, or some of what they're thinking, and so that they were going to start a new program because of what was going on in early 2020, and instead of they work in a volunteer place where they basically make care packages for people who need them. Usually, it's people that are in the like safe houses and such like that, or shelters. That most of them come from other counties and through Jim's enforcement group, and so they make care packages. But because of what was going on, they knew that we would need to change stuff, and nobody working in the building. So and the big one they wanted to do was about Donna. Okay, so Derrick and Paige, they decided they were going to work together and make basically programs for the volunteers to change that all up, and to where they can be doing, some of it would be like on Zoom, like kind of like Zoom, not Zoom. They're going to make their own. And, so like the elders from various elders that live in their own homes, people who have special needs, whatever it is, that they can Zoom with them once a day, not Zoom, but do that program with them once a day, talk, they see them. So that way, every day, there's somebody there that knows if they're okay. This kind of thing. And, this is during a time also they're doing rolling lockdowns in the county. And they're locked down, it's the whole county, different areas at different times. And, this is early 2020, like I said. And so a lot of them, some of them were actually moved to different parts of the county. And this is, in this county, it's, remember, hypothetical-fictional kind of thing. That is nothing unusual. These are people who have been moved before because of, various reasons, but it's all choice. It is, they don't have to, but it's something, part of what they grow up in, the kind of culture, the kind of customs and all that they grow up in. So it's nothing new, and it's very wealthy county. So most of them are very wealthy, and in order to stay in the hole, they're fine with this, and they don't, like I said, they don't have to, but they usually do, because this is part of their way they were raised. But some of them they're people who married into people who were from the original settlers, the descendants, who had lots of money. And some of them, like Donna, they did it for nefarious reasons, okay? And they're troublemakers, and like Donna and all of her cronies, all around their 40s and up, and they just want to start trouble, and they don't want to do this lockdown, okay? But they're going to. They have a choice. But some of the things that they did, they wanted to be able to catch what Donna and her cronies were up to. Like I said, they keep an eye on them on purpose, because they think Donna is the one who's organizing trouble for the county, for the other group members. She's part of these outlaws and the outcasts. So, okay. Now, like I said, these are just rough drafts of what I'm doing, writing, and it helps me organize. So don't think of it's going to flow. Okay? It's not. Anyway, now, basically Donna, she's in her mid-50s or so, and she's just a troublemaker, and all of her cronies. And she just acts like she knows everything about all kinds of topics, and she's basically full of misinformation, disinformation, putting it out there. And they correct her, like Donna, and Barbara is the one that actually runs it, and Donna doesn't, Paige, and Barbara. Barbara's actually the one that runs it, and Paige is kind of, unspoken, she directs it, or she kind of helps, okay? But Donna, she is afraid that they're going to tell her to stop, so she will stop for a while. But, old habits. But she will stop because that's where she gets a lot of attention, is there. But on the side of it, yeah, she's working for the Outlaws. She has her own sect of, basically they're trying to, they don't make much sense. They are not the smartest, brightest people. But they think that somehow they're going to overthrow the original group members, their whole organization. They're not that bright, like I said, okay. They just can't do that. But they think they can. And that they do things like they try to get people to marry into it. Okay, from there, that town called the Outlaws. And they want people in their group to marry into people that live in the rest of the county that have the money and all that. Okay. Anyway, so let's see. I'm looking back at my notes. Now, the people that they were... Okay, I mentioned this, that they're going to make that program to where they talk to people through a computer, through the internet, that live in the county, the people who are elders, 65 years old and older, or people who have some kind of special needs or something like this. And what they don't know is that these people that they're helping, they are people who do need whatever it is. They call and they say, I need this delivered. And they run through Donna and her group what they need delivered, what kind of services they need to be, to come to their house. But really, many of these are actually work for Jim's enforcement. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them. And they don't know it. They're not telling them. And that's another way that they keep eye on them. Okay, because they did become very threatening. And anyway, they had changed it from people age 70 to age 65. And so none of them mention it, like I said. Then now these women were having to move. When they would move, they would switch with them, and all kinds of things set up. Okay, and then these happened, like I said, every day with her cronies, and they all had their own group to check on, and they had, and for them it was great because they just love being on camera. They just love being center of attention and act like they're the superior person, and everybody's depending on them. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Let me read my notes again. Now, these enforcement, as time goes on, things do change in this. As time goes on, like I said, these women, her cronies were sent to various parts of the counties. They moved temporarily. Well, they thought it was going to be just a short while, but it kept going on and on. And they were learning a lot about them. The enforcement that were undercover, yeah, they were learning a lot. And it just, like I said, it continued, and they weren't expecting it to go on. But there were some changes at one point, and that's in a video to come. I really seriously need to catch up on all these and get it all in one video at some point. Make just a total update. Okay. And anyway, that's enough. That's all for this one. Like I said, these are just from rough drafts. It helps me to organize my thoughts. Rough drafts and all that. Copyrighted to me. Talk to y'all in another video. Bye.